Intro, man. Let's go. Are we
Finally got the
professional now?
intro. We're professionals now. Let's
Welcome
go.
back to the Line Drive Baseball Pod. I'm Evan. This is Brian. We're back for another episode. We finally got another Boris Force signing, and he's to where we knew he was going all along, the San Francisco Giants. Man, I'm really excited now. This offseason, I get that we didn't get Shohei. I get we didn't get Yamamoto. And I think there's a section of the fan base that's going to be disappointed no matter what because of that fact. Me personally, I'm excited. It felt like a dream. We only got to watch 2 innings tonight against the Dodgers before it got rained out. But I'm sitting there watching Jung-Hoo Lee, Matt Chapman, and Jorge Soler in Giants uniforms, man. When's the last time Carlos Rodon's the biggest free agent signing we've had in the last 5 years? You know, right. I wasn't excited like this. Like it's honestly kind of surreal. But I'm so stoked. I'm so excited for this season. I really think we have a good chance. I think we need to add some more pitching, and we'll get into that. But, man, it's the first time I've been excited like this for a long, long time. So
Absolutely.
Matt Chapman's 3-year deal, $54 million. He's got opt-outs out of every year, and then he's got a club or actually a mutual option at the end, which wasn't reported at first. But he's got a mutual option at the end, which those almost never go through, but it's interesting that they added that on there. But so this might be a 1-year deal. You know, it might be the same thing we kind of talked about Cody Bellinger's deal. This might be a similar situation. We might have him for 1 year, you know, or if he doesn't play up to par, we might have him for a few years that we don't want. But right now, I'm excited. We needed it. It's crowded our infield a little bit, but you know, I'm thinking we're going to figure that out. We'll talk about some of the places that we see that JD Davis could get moved to, because I don't really see a place for him anymore.
Well, like you said, I like this contract. It's 3-year, 54. His first year's 20 mil, 18 mil, 16 mil with 2 opt-outs. So, I mean, if he does good, he does good. But, I mean, it's a pretty similar to Cody Bellinger's deal over there in Chicago, which is pretty nice for you guys. It's a big signing. I mean, you guys got Soler and you guys got Matt Chapman. So, I mean, a lot to be happy and excited about over there in the Bay, you know?
Absolutely. The thing, we've got pitching was already thin. We've been chasing after Snell forever, and who knows where that's at, because, you know, you hear he's talking to these people, you hear he's talking to these people. Who knows what's actually happening? But the thing about it is we were already a little thin. There was already some questions to the rotation. And then Keaton Wynn goes down with an elbow injury. And then you're like, okay, getting a little nervous. We have a lot of young guys. We have a great AAA full of young pitchers that might or might not be ready for the majors, you know. But then we've got our next young guy, Tristan Beck, who randomly has just a scary injury. He got an aneurysm in his arm. And that just, in the first place, I was reading the description to my wife, and she looked like she was going to throw up, you know, at what the aneurysm in the arm was. But that's kind of scary, you know. That can turn into blood clot and be a lot more serious. But so he's going to be out after surgery for minimum the first 2 months. So now we're looking at Logan Webb, second in Cy Young last year, solid, no worries there. But now our second in our rotation is Kyle Harrison, who I think is going to be incredible, but you don't know that for sure. He's still young. Who knows what's going to happen? And then your third spot, you have Jordan Hicks, who they say they're going to put as a starter now, and that's a question mark. I mean, I believe if they have confidence that there's a reason for it, but I mean, you really don't know what's going to happen there. And then who after that? And then you're going to call up two AAA guys and just hope the back end of your rotation works out. I don't see a situation where we don't sign somebody. If we don't go after the big fish and get Snell, I don't think we're going after Montgomery. I've heard he doesn't want to play on the West Coast. But I'm thinking that you have to go after somebody like maybe a Michael Lorenzen type of pitcher. You know, he can slide into that 4 spot. You know, you need somebody to solidify that rotation in the first half, because we'll get Alex Cobb back in a couple months. We'll get Robbie Ray after the All-Star break, but we can't go half a year with 3 spots in the rotation and 2 question marks. It's just you're not going to keep up with the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers and even the Padres, you know. So we need to do something.
Yeah, Jordan Hicks, he was a starter. The Cardinals tried him out in the starting rotation a couple years ago, and I don't know. He has to work on building that stamina to get back up to the top of that. You know, he's going to give you maybe 4 or 5 innings. That's about it.
Mm.
But I mean, it's an option. If it doesn't work, he could be pretty decent in the back end of the bullpen for you guys. But I mean, I think Lorenzo would be a good fit. I mean, he probably won't be as cheap as people think he's going to be if he's still unsigned, but that's also an option. You can also look into the trade market. You guys do have a pretty nice farm system if you guys want to maybe go out and get a Dylan Cease. But
Yeah.
I don't know what the asking price there is. There was rumors at the beginning of the week, like there always is. There's teams interested in Blake Snell and Montgomery, and Montgomery straight up came up and said that he doesn't want to play on a big market team. He wants to stay in a smaller-ish market, like, for example, like St. Louis or go back to Texas, where it's a little bit smaller. It's not like New York, San Diego, LA, or anything like that. But I mean, the Giants were interested in Blake Snell, and I don't know what it's going to take. And that's kind of where Boris is at. It's like, someone gets injured, a team's going to get desperate and spend the money on my free agent pitcher. Yeah. So I don't know if that'll be the Giants or if they're still going to pan out and or hold out until someone else goes down. I know damn well the Cardinals ain't going to get him, so we'll move off of that topic. We get to that a little bit later, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting because you guys do need pitching now. You got the bats. You guys needed the bats. So it's nice to see that you guys got the 2 guys in Soler and Matt Chapman, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes, bud.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking trade might be an option there. We're gonna see how that plays out. But another thing that I saw earlier this week was that we had a deal for Tommy Edman. This is not pitching, obviously. We had a deal for Tommy Edman apparently, but they wanted you guys wanted Ryan Walker, and the deal kind of fell apart. I wonder if we can revisit and talk about some pitching and stuff like that. Maybe get somebody. What I was thinking of is get somebody that's a little bit more major league ready that may still be a question mark, but we can slot into the 5th slot. Maybe talk about Mats or something like that. Like we trade you a young guy for Mats, who Mats isn't going to be your best guy, but he can slide into the 5th spot in a rotation on a good team and be acceptable. So if we give you one of our younger pitchers and get him or some kind of deal with somebody like that where we get a starter, major league starter for one of our younger guys, we'll see. What the other thing that could happen is another thing I want to talk about is the JD Davis thing. JD Davis doesn't have a spot in our infield anymore. Third base is taken. He doesn't play shortstop, which is a whole another question mark with Marco Luciano not having a good spring. Looks like Nick Ahmed and Casey Schmidt are going to split time there. So JD Davis doesn't really have a spot. Wilmer Flores and Lamont Wade are over at first. Where are you going to put him? Joey Bart is out of options. I don't think he has much trade value, but he's out of options. So maybe we can find a team that will give us a starter for JD Davis and Joey Bart,
Yep, that'll be interesting. As soon as they sign Matt Chapman, I'm like, uh-oh, JD, where he fit in.
Right.
He's good enough to be in the league, but the Giants just got, like I said, there's nowhere for them to put anywhere. You can't even slide him in at DH because that's where Soler's going to be at, I'm assuming.
Yep. Yeah, he's going to be the everyday DH.
Like I said, they might have to package him into a deal to get a starter, and it's not going to be an ace type caliber starter, but might be able to try to find a team that's willing to take on JD, and maybe you guys get a veteran arm, worst case scenario, somebody who's got a proven track record, and you're not going to go out there and trade JD Davis for Logan Gilbert or anything like that. But no. There's a lot of older veteran guys that might fit well over in San Francisco. But like you said, the problem is that all your guys are hurt. And you won't get most of them back until the All-Star or after the All-Star. And you guys are in a division that you can't afford to wing it half of the season and then go balls walls after All-Star season's over, All-Star break's over, and trade deadline, because Dodgers are coming, Diamondbacks are coming. The Padres, they still have a really decent roster. The Rockies, we ain't worried about the Rockies or anything like that. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the Giants do with all that news coming out of the last couple weeks.
Yeah, it's I was thinking, like, I know the Brewers have their third base position open. They traded for Joey Ortiz, but I don't think that he's quite major league ready from the Orioles. But you trade over. I think that they could use some catching depth and a third baseman, and maybe get a back end starter. Another one is the Mariners. I was thinking of they were going to platoon Rojas, who is utility and can play the other positions anyways, and Urias Luis at third base, and I think JD Davis is a definite upgrade over those guys, over the platoon there. So maybe, Seattle, we're not going to get one of their better guys, but they have a surplus of young pitching.
You know who else has a surplus of young pitching? Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay, yep.
And
Bay
Miami.
could be another option. So
Miami's got a nice little, and who knows, maybe another good fit would. I know I was looking earlier today at the players who are out of minor league options. That's when I brought up Joey Bart. Sixto Sanchez is out of options, so maybe they just JD, because they need a bat, and JD's not a bad hitter. I mean, he's better, I'm sure, than what they got. I know they have Jake Berger over there at third base now, but I mean, like their rotation's pretty stacked too, and then they still have a lot of young guys like Yuri Perez who are still getting ready to come up. And if they're just trying to swap them, get a bat and take them, and you guys get Sixto and work with him, he's still young, but like I said, he's not an ace, but he still has that potential.
Yeah, and like you said, JD's got a bat. He's the same thing as Matt Chapman, but the upgrade for Matt Chapman was consistency and the glove. Obviously, he's one of the better third basemen in baseball at the hot corner, which JD Davis's defensive stats were not as up to par as him. But the bat, I mean, he's streaky sometimes, don't get me wrong, but when he's hot, he can carry you. So somebody is going to want him. Somebody can use him. I was thinking a funny situation too would be after Chapman left the Blue Jays and the Blue Jays kind of swung and missed on re-signing him. I wonder if it would be too shameful for them to go and try to trade for JD Davis afterwards. I mean, I know they got Escobar over there, but I don't think that's your main guy at third anymore. So I don't know.
Oh, well, I guess time will tell. Time will tell.
All right. Well, we talked about my team. You wanna rant a little bit about your team?
So I am wearing Royals gear, but my heart lies with the Cardinals, and it's getting really hard to. Sonny Gray went out with a hammy. At least it's a hammy and not an elbow or an arm injury. But man, they don't want to spend any damn money, dude. They don't want to spend a damn dime on anybody. Montgomery wants to come back. He wants to come back to St. Louis, and they won't sign him. Like I told you the other day, we have a handful of players who we're actually paying. Arenado, Goldschmidt, Willie Contreras, and I think outside of like Sonny Gray, who we just signed, I think our next, like we have Michaelis, who's like 34, 35 years old. He's getting double-digit figures. And then Steven Matz. But I think Matz is on the last year of his contract. But, it's like everybody else, you have Mason Wynn, Tommy Edman, Newt Barr, Walker, Gorman, Donovan. All those other guys are still on rookie or arbitration contracts. Even the bullpen, you got Gallegos and Helsley, they're still on very, very team arbitration deals and stuff like that. And it's frustrating as a Cardinal fan. Growing up, we've had that win first mentality, and the last couple of years, it's like we make the playoffs, and that's our goal. And with them expanding the playoffs, it's like a play-in tournament. You get that wild card spot. They added the extra wild card spot, so in their eyes, it almost seems like if we make the wild card and we make the playoffs, you should be happy. We made the playoffs, but Cardinal baseball is about winning. We've always been a winning franchise, and the last couple of years, it's been really hard to watch, and it sucks because we have arguably two of the best players at their respective positions in Arenado and Goldschmidt on our team, and we haven't been able to do anything with them. And I think the over-under for wins for us this year is 85.5. And the way things are going, I could honestly see them being slightly under or slightly over. It's not going to be that impressive. If you look at the other teams in the division, the Cubs signing back Bellinger, the Reds, they've got their core. And then even Pittsburgh, they spent decent chunk of money this offseason. They got Chapman, they extended Mitch Keller, they got Brian Hayes. They have a really good young, team as well. And all the teams around us, I know the Brewers, they traded off Burns, and
Mhm.
obviously Woodruff isn't going to be playing this year, but they got Hoskins over there at first base, who is a killer. And then they have a lot of their prospects that are about to come up, and Churio and Garrett Mitchell. And both of those guys are fucking studs. And if Christian Yelich has a good bounce back year, and the Brewers, they're relying on their top guys, their top prospects, and Churio and Garrett Mitchell. Mitchell looks really good. He looks
Mhm.
really good. Ellie's over here hitting 470-foot bombs in spring training, and what sucks is that I know it's just spring training, but we only have one home run. I don't know. I didn't check the box score for the ball game today, but I know Goldie hit a home run yesterday, and we've only hit one home run all spring training, and we have barely scored any runs. So history is starting to repeat itself because I look at the lineups, and we do have a lot of our studs in there,
Mhm.
and we're not scoring. We got shut out like 1 or 2 to nothing against the Nationals the other day, and we had all of our aces in there, all of our big guns in there. So that's a little bit concerning, but it is spring training. We did have the best record in spring training last year, and we finished last in the division. So spring training is spring training, but
Mhm.
it's not looking good. It's not looking good at all. But and it all comes down to they need to spend money. If they want to go get Montgomery, that would solidify our rotation. You have him at the top with Sonny Gray, and then you can work with Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson, Steven Matz, and whatnot, and that would be a decent addition. But we'll see how that all goes. But Mazalok won't spend any money, and we're still stuck with Ollie Marmol, who
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of.
I don't
Sucks.
really understand it, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm sure you're in the same spot, but I mean, even from an outside perspective, I don't really understand why you're not wanting to spend the money. You've got a top caliber pitcher saying that he wants to come back and play for you. You've got a squad that is arguably a pitcher away from being just as a contender as anybody else besides maybe the Dodgers, and you're just not doing it. I mean, I don't really understand the thought process. I don't think anybody does, and it's frustrating when you're not hearing that. It'd be one thing if these guys came out and said, "Hey, the reason why we're not going after this guy is because this is our game plan for the future, and we think this would impair this signing or this extension, or this is what we're trying to do, and this is why we don't want to do it." But when you're just kind of left in the dark, like, "Hey, this guy wants to play for us, and you guys don't want to sign him," it's
And they can't even use that excuse because Lance Lynn and Gibson, they're both on really short term deals with opt outs at the end of each of the club options at the end of both seasons of their contract. So if they went out and got Montgomery and locked
mhm,
him in for 4 or 5 years, you have Sonny Gray and Montgomery at the top, and then you have a, the Cardinals have a lot of farm pitchers who are projected to do really good in the bigs, and
mhm.
so it's like you need to have the solidify. You need to solidify your top guy and your ace and your number two. And I think Michaelis's contract's almost up. I don't see them bringing him back. I think he might retire, but he hasn't since his first year. He came over. He came back over from overseas, and he pitched really well for us. We gave him the bag, and he really hasn't been anything impressive since I think it was like the 2019 season. But
Mhm.
I mean, if you look at our team on paper, Nootbaar's a stud. Nootbaar's really good. He's really streaky when it comes to batting, but he's still young. And for whatever reason, we have Tommy Edman playing center field. Not saying I don't like Tommy Edman, but that comes into our next question here is we have Jordan Walker. I think he's going to have a big year. And then
Mhm.
obviously we have Goldie and Gorman. I think Gorman's going to be the future. I think he is the next version of what you could call Albert Pujols. I'm not going to compare him to Albert Pujols, but he's going to be that franchise player. Him and Jordan Walker are going to be the
Mhm.
pillars of the offense going forward. And even maybe Mason Wynn. Mason Wynn's having a pretty decent spring training. I know we talked about last week with them bringing over Crawford to help him out. So he didn't do very well at all when we called him up in the September call ups last year.
Mhm.
But I mean, he's only like 21 years old, and he went from double A. He started in double A after spring, made it to triple A, struggled a little bit, got hot, got called up to the MLB, struggled a little bit, but his defense is just phenomenal. He is a great defender. Then we have Arenado, Contreras, and then Ivan Herrera. We'll get Brendan Donovan back. So, like, on paper, we have a really good team. On paper, we have a really good team.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? We don't have any damn pitching. And that's been the problem. That's been the problem with the Cardinals since the 2010s.
Mm-hmm.
We had Waino, we had all these great pitchers in the 2000s. They weren't aces, we have like Jaime Garcia, he was really solid for us, but we just don't have a starting pitching core. You look at teams like the Dodgers. What's their focus? They went out and got Max Scherzer. They had Trevor Bauer at the time when he was a Cy Young caliber pitcher. And they had Kershaw. They had a core of starting pitchers that could go out there and give you 6-7 shutout innings or one run appearances and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So the problem with the Cardinals is that it's just plug and play. The longest tenured pitcher on the Cardinals is Michaelis, and he signed with us, I believe, in like 17 or 18.
Yeah.
And we just don't get that core together. We bounce from veteran to veteran. We signed Jay Happ, and then we signed, John Lester. We're signing all these old veteran guys just to kind of push us and get us through, the season. And we're not going out and getting these young guys. We're like hoarding all of our prospects, and we're not going to get Logan Gilbert, who I want.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if that's the thinking, and I think that that's a mistake if it is. I wonder if they're thinking, hey, if we just hold on to these guys, we're going to be really great in a couple years. And it's like, you could be really good now and later. You have enough prospects that you could be good now and later, and instead you're hoarding them for trying to be incredible later or something. I don't know if that's the thinking or not, but that's the only way that I can think of it. It's pretty crazy. I mean, like you said, you've got Walker and Gorman by themselves. Those two right there. I do believe we've talked about Gorman and the potential that he has. I think this year might be a breakout season for him. I mean, this is a guy that could be hitting 40 home run seasons every year. Like he has extreme power. And
he's gotten way better.
He could be a total superstar here very, very soon, if not right now, So I don't know. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. I guess you can hold on to the fact that no matter what, in a couple of years, you're going to be really good. But that sucks, bro. Believe me, I know.
It's a gamble.
I know it. Trust me, I know it. And the problem is we've had the same kind of mindset. And there was a thing posted on the war for the last 10 years of first-round draft picks for every team. And you want to hear the saddest thing ever? Patrick Bailey is the only one with a positive WAR out of all of our first-round draft picks. We have the worst.
And that's the thing. That's the thing, bro. It's like baseball is not like football or basketball where you draft unless your name is Bryce Harper or Juan Soto or any of the superstars who were drafted first overall. Mike Trout wasn't even first overall. Yeah. But, you look at guys like Trout and Soto who started playing in the bigs when they were teenagers, essentially, and those are generational players. If you take a first round, let's use football for an example. Let's say Caleb Williams. He's projected to go first overall, so I'll use Caleb as an example here. So in those sports like football and basketball, your first overall pick, he's your starter next year. Mm-hmm. He's going to your fucking lineup. Caleb Williams, if he gets drafted no matter what team he gets drafted by, Caleb Williams is going to be a starter on whatever team that drafts him. In baseball, it takes a couple years to develop, and I'm not a big fan of gambling on prospects. Look at the Dodgers, dude. The Dodgers, I hate teams that go out and buy players, but they were able to go out and trade for like Trey Turner, and teams that are we'll move our prospects because, in my opinion, like whenever the Padres traded for Juan Soto. They gave up C.J. Abrams, who was supposed to be a beast, Mackenzie Gore, who was supposed to be a beast, and they're good. Don't get me wrong, but I would give up those two guys to get Juan Soto. Now it sucks he's in New York now, but you can always redraft and develop talent and everything like that. So that's my thing is like go get Logan Gilbert. I don't want. I mean you're gonna have to give up a lot. Go out and get and that's for any team. It's trying to win now. Like that's why the Dodgers are so good. other than the free agent signing. But if you look at for the players they've traded for, like Max Scherzer and Trey Turner, they gave up a shit ton of prospects. But guess what? They have like an unlimited farm system because they keep trading off all their prospects and then they redevelop and they get international signings, and that's how you win. And that's the mindset I wish we would have. I don't like, because we have so many great prospects in our organization and we're just hoarding them. Like Sagasi, believe he plays shortstop, and I'm like, you have Mason Wynn at shortstop, but this guy won the MVP in the minor leagues last year. He came over from Texas when we traded Montgomery over there, and it's like, so we have really two really good shortstops. Gorman's going to play second base. Maybe they transition Walker back to third base whenever Nato's gone. I don't know, but I just don't like teams who hoard prospects like that. Unless you're the Baltimore Orioles and you just have the best fucking luck drafting and developing players. I don't know. But so that's going to be the end of my rant on the St. Louis Cardinals and the lack of spending, trading, and doing anything in regards to making our team better.
I'm going to poke the bear real quick for one more fucking thing.
Let's go. Let's hear it.
So do you think that they completed the trifecta of superstars kicked to the curb when they sent Richie Palacios to Tampa Bay? It sure seems a lot to me like a Randy Arozarena, Adolis Garcia. Like, this guy came in, was good. They for some reason didn't value him how he should be. They shipped him off. I have this feeling that he is going to have such a season for Tampa Bay.
Don't even get me started on that part of things. I knew Adolis was he was a dog. We DFA'd him and nobody picked him up. Nobody picked him up the first time we DFA'd him. And then we DFA'd him again. Because you know who they thought was going to be Mr. fucking Muscles? Tyler O'Neill. And look where the fuck he's at right now.
Yeah.
And then Randy Arozarena. I was following him all throughout Double and Triple A, and I'm like, this kid's going to be a fucking beast. He can hit the ball. He can run fast as hell. He's a great defender. And honestly, I think it was more of a political move whenever we let him go, or we traded him over, just because of the clubhouse incident after we won that playoff series. And he recorded Mike Schilt, and they got a lot of negative feedback. But as a competitor myself, if my managers hype the fuck up like that, dude, I'm going to be pumped the fuck up. I mean, we lost the next series, but still, if your manager's going out there, and it's a guy like Mike Schilt, who's like really quiet, he appears to be like a quiet, soft-spoken person, and then to see him in that fucking locker room just going off, dude. And right after that, his ass was gone, and look what happened to him. And then look what happened with Zach Gallen. We're gonna go down this rabbit hole since you want to poke the bear. Look what happened to Zach Gallen. Look what happened to Sandy.
Yep.
Exactly. Every player that we trade ends up being a fucking super mega star for whatever team they go to. And it's a given.
Maybe that explains what's happening right now. Maybe they're so traumatized by the players that they did let go. They're like, we're not letting go any of our prospects because everybody we let go turns into a god. Maybe that's
here's
the
my
explanation.
Thing. This is my thing. This is how I see it. Look, I understand that part, but when you fucking designate for assignment a guy and you get absolutely fucking nothing in return, that's going to kick you in your balls. It's going to hurt. Yeah. But when you trade off Randy Arozarena for Matthew Liberatore and you're gambling on a prospect with a guy who was phenomenal down the second half of the season for us just to get an A-graded prospect pitcher, that's where I don't like that gamble. Now, like I said, if they were to trade off some of these prospects for a Logan Gilbert, and they do really good in Seattle, and they give Seattle the offense that they need, good for them. I don't want to see them fail, but I want to trade the prospects for proven young talent. And that's the problem with the Cardinals, is that they gamble on other prospects with some of their guys. Yeah. Or they'll just designate him for assignment and release him. Like I think Palacios played his ass off for us, dude. I joked when we signed him. I mean, I like Palacios because he was on the Guardians, and our boy Ben's a Guardians fan, so we had to talk a little bit of smack there. But my thing is, we brought Palacios over, and I shit you not, bro. He was one of our best. He was one of our best guys going down the second half. And my opinion, he's better than Dylan Carlson.
Yeah.
He played better than Dylan Carlson. He played better than O'Neill. So I hope Mr. Palacios wins the fucking MVP in the American League just to kick Mozeliak in the nuts for getting rid of him.
Right. Yeah, you guys talked all the time. I remember you guys talking about him nonstop. Like, hey, who is this guy? He was just going off. I mean, he had an 823 OPS for you guys down the end of the 2023 season.
Making plays in the outfield, throwing motherfuckers out who were trying to get extra bags. Dude was really good, man.
Yeah. All right, so Zach Wheeler, record contract. I saw this number and I was like, holy crap. It's not that he doesn't deserve it, because he does. He's good. I don't think he gets talked about how good he is enough. Could have been a Giants legend, but we dealed him off early in his career. But $42 million a year, 3 years, $126 million. Woo!
And they just signed Nola back.
Philly really locked down 2 aces to start that rotation. Man, that is crazy.
And you know what? The Cardinals need to take some fucking notes.
Right?
They signed back their guy.
Yep.
We didn't. At least not yet. Montgomery was the best pitcher on our team last year, and we traded him.
Yeah.
And you know what? Philly went back and got their guy, Aaron Nola. And you know what they did? They're like, Zach Wheeler, you might be our number 2, but we love you. You're just as good as our number 1. Let's give you some money. Going back to what I said about pitching is going to win you ball games, and we don't have any. So that's a big move for the Phillies. They locked in. I mean, that's a huge contract. I almost shit myself when I was like, $126 million. That's not a bad, And I'm like 3 years, and I'm like, oh shit, 3 years.
Right.
That's some Zach Greinke, or not Zach Greinke, Scherzer and Verlander money that the Mets gave them.
Yeah.
That's right up there. That's pushing. Is it 40 mil a year? Right around 40 a year?
It's 42. I think it was actually more than Scherzer and Verlander. Let me double check that. Oh no, okay. It's
I think it was just a slight bit less.
Yeah, so Verlander and Scherzer averaged 43.3 and he got 42. So it's up there.
That's a good move for them.
Right? I mean,
that's
the
a good
Giants
move for them.
Something too. You want to talk about not re-signing your guy? You know what one I will fucking regret for the rest of my life as a Giants fan? Kevin Gausman, dude. How do you not re-sign that guy? Can you imagine Kevin Gausman and Logan Webb now at the beginning of that rotation with the rest of the guys we have in this team? Man, how do you
think Baltimore feels?
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, no, that's good for the Phillies, especially the last couple years. Obviously, the Braves. I see Helly's over here, so we'll talk about the Braves here for a minute too. The Braves are going to be the team to beat in the NL East. But man, the last couple of years, Philly gets in that wild card spot, bro, and they go off in the playoffs.
Man, I don't know if division, it's the stadium. What is it?
I don't know what it is. Well, I could tell you what it is. They have Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper is a postseason god. And you know who else they have? Kyle Schwaber. Yeah. Kyle Schwaber will hit you a home run every damn game.
Yeah. And now Trey Turner over there. Marsh seems to step it up in the playoffs. I mean, those guys, I do think the crowd has something to do with it. I mean, I don't know if there's another city quite like Philadelphia when it comes to getting rowdy in the playoffs and getting behind their guys. It can go the other direction really fast. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, that place, I was reading something. I'm not going to say an exact quote. I might be misspeaking here on something, but there was something like the decibels from the noise from that stadium was the same amount as like the force from an earthquake or something like that. Right. It was insane. Something that they were saying. I was like, man, it is crazy how loud that stadium gets.
And that's why you can't sleep on them, dude. Like if they get into that wild card series, man, and they get that home field advantage, because they're going to be a 90-win team. They're going to be a 90-win wild card team. Yeah. And then like last year, the Marlins slipped in with around 80-ish, like mid-80 wins, if that. But if they get that home field advantage, they get that number 1 wild card seed, and they get to play at home. Man, it's hard to play there. It's hard to play there. And like I said, dude, whenever they're at home playing in the playoffs, it gets loud, and
Mhm.
you could even like just as a fan watching it, because obviously I'm not going to fucking Philadelphia to watch a random playoff series, but you can hear it on the TV. You know,
Mhm.
just the roar of it, and it reminds me a lot of college basketball and college football. It's so loud in there, but you got to think that's an open stadium, and it's
Mhm.
so loud. And it must be. It's nice to hear, and that it makes it so much harder for the teams that go in there. And I think that's why they've had so much playoff success, just being as a wild card and going
Mhm.
in there and getting the job done at home. But they always seem to catch fire around mid to late September, and they just roll that train right into the playoffs. And they got stumped against the Diamondbacks. That was a good series, and I hope we can see some more of that in the playoffs, because the Phillies are feisty, and Arizona is clawing their way to be one of the top tier teams in the National League, not just
Mhm.
in their division, but in the National League as in general. So, man, it's good for the Phillies. Good for Phillies fans. Because Zach Wheeler, dude, he is disgusting, man.
Yeah.
He's another one of those guys that are not talked about that much when it comes to starting pitching in the league. But he's really good. He tops out almost at 100 now on his velo on his fastball, and his off speed stuff's just disgusting. Good luck, Chuck. But he's always kind of been in the shadow of Aaron Nola, because Nola's been their ace. So it's
Mhm.
nice to see that they're paying him, and he is a little bit older, so get a couple more good years out of him and stretch it out. And if he's still wanting to pitch by the time this contract's up, so be it. But a good signing for them. I think I don't think the Phillies are done though. If they're spending now on a guy like Zach Wheeler, I mean that kind of leads us into the Snell or Monty sign on the agenda here.
Yeah,
But
I saw that they were interested in Snell on a short term deal. I mean, these guys got to sign somewhere here soon. Giolito goes down with a UCL injury, so he's gone. Giants pitchers are hurt, like we talked about earlier. You know, you've got Philadelphia that's ready to push the chips in. Um, I just, man, we've been saying this the whole offseason, and I don't know how much longer we're going to say it, but it's got to happen soon. These guys, I mean, the season's about to start. Are they really going to miss part of the season?
well, I mean that's the thing too. Sonny Gray's out. We don't
Mm-hmm.
know how long he's going to be out, but and that going into the Montgomery thing of it, why not? Why not try for a reunion with them, because we lost our ace. But even I don't know how. I think if there's a shot that you guys get one of these two guys, it'll probably be Blake Snell, given that he's
Mm-hmm.
already kind of been established over there on the West Coast for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't see the Red Sox going to get any one of these guys. That's just my opinion. I've been following a lot of the Red Sox news and stuff like that, and they're not too happy with the ownership right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't. It's hard to say, because like at the beginning of the week, 4 teams are interested in these guys. Now I don't think they ever really said exactly what teams they were, and here we are sitting here, March 8th, and nothing. There's not even any more rumors, man. Like they'll like kick up just a little bit, and then they just drop off the face of the earth, and it's like, dude, opening days in a couple weeks,
Yeah.
and you can, like I told you before, man, you can pitch all you want on bullpen sessions and stuff on your own dime, but it's nothing compared to being in a game situation, facing real hitters, facing guys, like Mike Trouts and Otanis and Harpers and stuff like that. And it's we'll we'll see that. We'll see how that all plays out. These guys need to sign though, and I think they're holding out as long as they can. And what tells me is that these guys are asking for a shit ton, and these teams are just like,
Yeah.
not really wanting it. And it's going to come down to eventually one party's going to have to break and be like, it's either going to be a very long term deal like Snell wants, or he's going to have to suck it up and get a Bellinger or Chapman deal where he gets a 3-year with that opt out after the first 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Because I'm sure if a team approached him wanting a short term contract, the teams would be okay with it. I just don't think the teams are wanting to gamble on. I think he said like a 9-year. He wanted like a 9-year contract.
Yeah, originally I was hearing 9 years, 270, and I'm like, that's not going to happen, bro. You're going on 31 years old now. That's not going to happen, dude. You're
No,
not. No.
no.
But
And
I mean, it still might be a big one, you know. But if you ask, if you might even get an 8-9 year contract if you ask for 20 million a year, $21 million a year, you know, I think that's
mhm.
feasible. But I think it's more like 7 years, 21 a year is something that might be feasible if he doesn't go the short term route. That might be the best option. I have a kitten attacking my legs viciously right now. Um, but we'll see. I mean, the Red Sox have shown now they just signed Brian Bello to this extension, so they're spending money. A lot of people were saying they're not willing to spend money, so they are spending some money. That's a value deal, though. They're pulling a feather out of the Braves' hat with that one. This guy's real young, and so they got a big extension for what may turn out to be a total bargain. I mean, you're talking about 6 years, 55 million for a guy that you're hoping is
Mhm.
going to be your ace for the next for that contract. I mean, that's great value
It,
right there.
it's a win-win for both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Brian's getting security. He's going to
Mm-hmm.
get paid, and if he does really, really good, it looks really good on the Red Sox for getting that deal done. And if he's
Mm-hmm.
average, if he turns out to be just an average, 2 through 4 type of pitcher in the rotation, it's still a good deal for a guy who's a number 3, number 4 slot in your rotation.
Mm-hmm.
So either way, I think it's a pretty good deal. I'm looking here. The Red Sox went 17-11 in his starts last year, and he led the club in outings of at least 5 innings, 6 innings, and 7 innings last year. So, I mean, he's got a lot of potential to do really good things, and I think it's a good contract for both sides there. And then it's kind of like, my opinion is, a lot of these guys are just asking for a ton of money, and Brian was like, I'm locked in. I got job security. I'm good. I'm getting paid. And if I do
Mm-hmm.
really, really good, he's still so young that after the 6 year deal, he could get another contract. That's the thing with Bello. He's young
Mm-hmm.
enough to get another contract, and who knows? He's only 24, so that 6 years puts him at 30, and
Mm-hmm.
30 still a pretty, given that he doesn't get any injuries or anything like that. A lot of the best pitchers are over 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So if he does really good through the 6 year contract, he might earn himself an even larger bag, like a Zach Wheeler kind of deal, where he gets a 3 year deal, a shit ton, making like $30-40 million a year. So good on both parts. Good, and that's the thing I was talking to you about. It's a confidence thing
Mm-hmm.
for him, because he was approaching. I believe he was getting ready to approach arbitration or free agency, or one of the two. I think it was arbitration, and you know a club coming up to you and offering you that 6 year contract extension, that's one less thing you have to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
And you can focus on pitching a lot more, not have in the back of your head all this, contract stuff going on. So I think it works out really well with young players if you lock them in like that. And then that's one less thing they have to worry about. They don't have to worry about going into arbitration hearings and fighting for an extra fucking $500,000 every year until they hit free agency. So, but he ended up going 13-12 with a 3.59 ERA, which for a 24-year-old, that's not bad at all. I mean, that's pretty
Yeah.
decent in this day and age. People look at ERA, and if it's over 3, it's people are like, it's kind of a bad ERA, but he only let
Mm-hmm.
up 67 runs over 168 innings pitched. He pitched a lot of innings, so your ERA normally will be a little bit higher if you pitch more innings. And so, good signing for them. I believe that with Sale gone and Giolito out, this kid might be the ace, because I don't think there's a time frame for Giolito, and Giolito really hasn't done anything spectacular here in the recent years. So I guess they're taking a gamble on their next ace. I like it.
Right.
And their
So
star outfielder, Tyler O'Neill, baby.
yeah. Hey, he just hit a monster one over the wall in Fenway, so maybe he's going to be a star now too. But
Good for him. Good for him. He's either going to hit 50 home runs, or he's going to play 50 games.
yeah, probably the second, but we'll see what happens there. So I
But
want to
here's
gloat.
I want to
Go
mention
ahead.
this really quick with Brian. I just kind of scrolled down a little bit here. Um, his starts against the division, he was 5-3 with a 3.83 ERA versus the division. This is the kicker. This is the kicker that I like here. He owns a 1.5 career ERA against the Yankees.
Yankee killer.
And that,
we like Yankee killers.
And that's 5 earned runs over 31 innings.
Ooh.
And the lowest mark for any pitcher who has made at least 5 starts against the club since 1920. In 3 career starts. In 3 career starts at Yankee Stadium, he posted an ERA of 1.89, 4 earned runs over 19. That is in New York. That is not home field advantage. So, I mean, that might right there, that'll definitely get you, some love in your team, because that's like Cardinal Cubs. You got Giants Dodgers, and if you can go into that rival's ballpark and shut them down, that's huge. I mean, it sucks that you don't play your division rivals as much with the new scheduling and stuff like that, but the Yankees are going to be, in my opinion, I know we did our predictions with the playoff teams. The Yankees are going to be a playoff team, and if the Red Sox can sneak in, they might see each other in the playoffs. And you can get your guys that start at home, and then you could send Brian out game 3 or game 1 or game 2, however the seedings work, and he's got the track record to go into New York and shut them down. That could be a potential game 5. A potential game 7 start to close out the series. That's another thing that I didn't think about until I just read that. So that's pretty good for Mr. Brian.
Bello versus Cole.
Bello versus Cole, baby. Woo. The Red Sox are going to have to do a lot more to get into the damn playoffs, though. But
yeah, for sure.
But like I said, he's on a 6-year deal, so I'm assuming in some point in the 6 years, the Red Sox will make their way back into the playoffs. They're the Red Sox. They will find a way to win again.
So I just we won't spend too much time on this, because if I'm being reasonable, it doesn't mean anything at all. But I do want to sit here and poke fun for a minute at Mr. Yamamoto, who got absolutely shelled by the White Sox of all people. Just went and 3 innings pitched, 6 hits, 5 runs, 3 walks. I mean, it could mean something. It could not mean something. There was a lot of talk about, is this guy going to be able to transfer and his skills be transferable to the major leagues? He didn't look good then, but at times he's looked unhittable. So it's interesting. But I just wanted to poke fun at that really quick, because it was fun to watch. And anytime the Dodgers struggle and anything that's going on that side of the fence, I'm going to be a happy guy.
Well, and that's the thing. We talked about it with the Cardinals and whatnot. It's just spring training. But the thing that kind of worries me a little bit, he did have 4 strikeouts, but he had 3 walks, and he only threw 32 of his 58 pitches for strikes.
Yeah.
That, I mean, but his first start, he did pretty decent. But I know you and I have kind of poked the bear on this one a little bit with Mr. Yamamoto. His fastball's flat. But his
everything
breaking
else looks nasty. Everything else is disgusting, but that fastball, I mean, I don't know. I'm not standing at the plate. I don't know what that looks like coming at me. So I could be totally wrong, but I'm like, man, that kind of looks like batting practice right there.
Tune in to opening day, because I guarantee you he's going to be the opening day starter for the Dodgers versus the Cardinals, baby.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
We're going to get no hit.
I was going to go the other direction, but you went there.
I went there, baby. I went there.
All right, so let's go from the consensus best team in the MLB, who I hope wasted $325 million on that guy, to a team that's not really talked about much, and they might not be. They're in a division with who we've already talked about, the Braves and the Phillies, but somebody that I think had a really good offseason, the Nationals. They signed Eddie Rosario to a deal. He's going to get an invite and try to make this team. But in general, I mean, I was looking at this lineup, and I'm like, this looks like a wild card team. Maybe I'm sticking my foot in my mouth here, okay? But you've got Abrams, who I'm so high on. We've talked about him. I think this dude is an absolute stud. I think he's going to be just such a great, great player. Leading off, You got Lane Thomas, Cardinals legend in this 2 spot.
Another guy we let go.
Right. You've got a question mark in Joey Gallo, but I think Joey Gallo on a less pressured, smaller team might actually do some good, and he might be a good amount of pop, even with the strikeouts that he brings. You've got Meneses, who's super clutch, super great player, another player that I think is underrated. You got Jesse Winker. You got Keibert Ruiz, who's solid. You got legend Drew Millis behind him, who's gonna
That's my boy.
take him on the off days. You've got Nick Senzel, and then you've got guys coming back, Luis Garcia and Victor Robles. I feel like this is a team that could be totally flat, but if things go the right way and these guys mesh, they're all guys that could sneakily have a good season. And then you're looking at, these guys fighting the Cubs for a wild card spot or something at the end of the year. It'd be quite funny if they beat out the Padres after everything that's happened.
Right.
And
that's the thing. I was actually watching, funny enough, scrolling through TikTok, and somebody was talking about the organizational depth that they have in their minor league system. Bro, they got some fucking beasts. Mm-hmm. They got some beasts coming up, and they're all outfielders. Yeah. And they're obviously the known one is Dylan Cruz, but they've had enough bad years that they've drafted pretty high the last couple of years. And through the trades with Harper and Soto and Trey Turner and Max Scherzer, and the list just goes on with all their guys they traded after their 2019 run. But I could see them being the Miami Marlins of last year. They're just solid. They have a solid team. I think after COVID, it just all fell apart for the Nationals. They won the World Series in 19, didn't really get to have a celebratory season, and shit just kind of hit the fan. But you can't count out the Nationals. They got enough prospects too. If they're in it at the trade deadline, they might go get a guy or two. And I think we could maybe see a wild card matchup with the Nats and the Cubbies.
Right.
And it wouldn't surprise me.
You've got Robert Hassel coming up, who he hasn't shown a lot yet, but he's got a lot of potential. But the guy that's been showing off in spring training, I don't know if you've seen James Wood.
That's my boy.
He's just been going off. I mean, the dude, I didn't realize how big this kid is, number one.
Oh, dude.
The dude's a monster. And he's just sending these balls into outer space. I don't think he's going to make the major league team out of the gate, but definitely partway through the season, they're having a good season, and he's having a good year in AAA. Man, this guy
risky for the biscuit, baby.
He comes up and starts hitting some dingers and carrying this team, and they start getting excited. Man, it could get really interesting. And like I said, let me just protect myself by saying this could totally not happen, and the Nationals could suck. They also have that capability of a team that could totally suck, but they've got the potential there if things mesh well. We'll see if the pitching holds up.
And that's my big
Corbin,
thing. Corbin,
you've got
greatest contract in the league right now.
But you've got Jackson Rutledge and Cade Cavalli too, though. You've got two young guys. These guys could. It's all maybes, but they could be really good. Things go right. This is a team that could be good.
And that's why in our tabs over here it says sneaky good team with a question mark.
Right.
Josiah Gray, he was thought of a highly talented prospect, and he's shown flashes of being good. And then another guy they got, Mackenzie Gore. He's still very young too. And it's hard for those guys who are so young. And you guys got guys like Patrick Corbin, and Corbin's not their ace. He might have been if he played like he did when he was a Diamondback, or even in the playoff push in 2019. He was really solid for him, but I don't know if he got the Alek Manoah treatment and got the yips before Manoah did or what. But I just don't. It's a lot of pressure for those young guys to, get fast tracked and look, we don't have any more pitching. Strasburg's hurt. they're still paying Strasburg. They still want him to show up to spring, and hopefully Strauss can. I know there's a lot of controversy around that whole Strasburg situation with his contract and how the Nats are not insured, and it's all guaranteed money. So if Strasburg doesn't want to play and he wants to retire, in my opinion, I know he had that retirement thing last year, and we talked about that a couple episodes ago. I mean, he won you a World Series. Dude was phenomenal in that 2019 run. He was lights out. Won the MVP. He was amazing. And then, he's been injury plagued his entire career for the most part. At the beginning it was just little things here and there, but as he got older and the Nationals started throwing him out as many innings as his arm could stay on his shoulders, shit happens. You get hurt. And if Strauss wants to retire, he earned it. I mean, it sucks if you're a Nationals fan and you're stuck with that contract and you're stuck with Corbin's contract as well. But at the end of the day, and it's kind of like hockey terms. The Blues traded one of their top prospects for Ryan O'Reilly in 2019 or 2018 rather. And we ended up winning the Stanley Cup. And it sucks because Tage Thompson is doing great over in Buffalo, but we won a Stanley Cup. And I know the Nationals were one of those teams that have never won the World Series. So, that's just the way I see it. We sent off a top prospect to win a cup, and we won a cup. And if Strasburg wants to retire, he single-handedly won you that World Series. Every time he went out there to pitch, you were getting all you had to do is score one run, and you knew you were going to get a win. Yeah. So, but in a sense of him, I know they're trying to get him to stay around and be like a mentor and a bullpen coach or some kind of official capacity within the organization. And I feel like if Strauss can decide to stay and be there and help out these young guys like McKenzie and McKenzie and them and Josiah, it'd be good for their career, because Strasburg he's just like Tim Lincecum, in my opinion. When he was on, but he got hurt and he had injuries. So if they could keep him around the clubhouse at least and kind of work with these guys, even if it's just spring training and an appearance here and there, enjoy your retirement, but we're still paying you $30 million a year. We would like you to kind of, say hi every once in a while or something, man. Don't just get hurt and dip out on us. But no, and that's the thing. The Nationals they could easily be like I said, a Miami Marlins of last year and just sneak into the playoffs because the National League outside of the big guys like the Phillies and the Braves and the Dodgers, because those three teams, in my opinion, they're going to make the playoffs. There's like a 99.9% chance they're going to make the playoffs. And that leaves a wild card open for almost anything. Obviously, you have to have a division winner in the NL Central, whether it be the Cardinals or the Cubs or even the Reds, who I predicted is going to win the Central this year. And same thing with the AL Central. There's going to be a couple more spots open. And just like the Phillies have shown the last couple of years, if you can make it in, you can go off. And I think the Nationals, if things go their way, I think they have a legit chance of maybe winning the wild card spot, or they could be competing for the worst team in the league with yours truly, Kansas City, and the Athletics. It could go either way. They're not going to be great. They're either going to be middle of the pack or they're going to be dog shit. And that's just the thing with that. But who knows? I guess we won't find out for a couple more months how that's going to pan out.
Right. Speaking of Kansas City, I'll let you close out tonight with talking a little bit about your second favorite team. Vinny P with the quote, "Casey's offense is going to be banging in 24."
Oh yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I know we've talked about how my feelings. I've started supporting Kansas City whenever I got stationed out here in Kansas, just because they're not. It's not a bandwagon team or anything like that, because they're not good at all. But I support them just because they're my local team, and they're not even we have a rivalry with the Cardinals, but they play like 4 times a year. So, um, but no, Kansas City, man, they have a fun lineup, dude. Bobby Witt, and that's the thing with him playing in Kansas City. People forget how good Bobby is. Bobby was a 30-30 player last year. He's my dark horse to win MVP. If Vinny P could stay healthy, Vinny P's a dog, dude. He's a dog, and they got a lot of interesting guys on their team, and they went out and spent money. They went out and spent money this year, and they got a lot of potential. They got a lot of young guys, and I could see them being a lot better. I don't think they're quite. If they make the playoffs, it's because they win the division. But they're going to be like the NL Central, and they're going to win the division, and then they're going to go up against like the Yankees or one of those top tier teams in the American League, whether it be the Mariners, the Astros, the Rangers, and I don't think they're quite ready for that yet. But they're just like the Nationals, in my opinion. If the Nationals and the Royals were in the same division, in the same in the American League or the National League, I think those two teams would really do good facing off against each other multiple times throughout the year. But like I said, they're in a weaker division. Like if you put the Nationals in like the American League Central, I think the Nationals would have a better chance of making the playoffs just because their division is loaded. But Kansas City, like I said, they're going to have a better year. I know for a fact they're going to have a better year than last year. They're not going to finish second last in the standings by the end of the year. They're going to be probably about a middle of the pack tier, given that everybody stays healthy. I was really surprised that they signed Michael Wacha. I thought Wacha was going to go to a contending team, whether it be like Arizona, even San Francisco or Seattle, because Wacha he did really, really good for the Padres last year, but he wasn't Blake Snell, so he didn't get a lot of eyeballs on him. But Kansas City, I like what they did this offseason. They went out and spent some bucks. They didn't. Most of the money went to Bobby, but they're building for the future, and a lot of their prospects that they've drafted, they've been kind of busts. And I think a lot of these, they ended up after, I think it was like Bubba Starling or whatever. I just watched a video on that. Bubba was like one of the best prospects in the KC organization, and by the time he came up to the bigs, his strikeout percentage was like 48%.
Oh God!
So I think after that, and they gave him like a $8 million signing out of the draft. And I think after that, and after he failed, they cleaned out house on their scouting and development and stuff like that. And a lot of their younger guys are starting to come up and do really, really good for them. That's kind of why they moved on from Whit Merrifield. They moved on from Soler. I love Soler when he was at Kansas City because that was the prime of his. That was like his 40, 50 home run seasons. But that's why they got rid of like Hunter Dozier, because they have better guys now. They're not going to be a powerhouse, but they're going to be a fun team to keep your eyes on this year. And I think Vinny P's right. If they can stay healthy, they're going to be a fun team to compete. They're going to be a competitive team, and they're going to hit the ball. They're going to be more of a small ball type of team. Bobby Witt, I think, is the only player that I can know on their team that's got some pop in his bat.
Hunter Renfroe, they signed Hunter. Hunter can hit some dingers.
Yeah, he can hit some. I think Bobby's got a lot more power, given that he's a little bit younger and whatnot. But Renfroe can still get into some balls, and that provides a lot of good protection because you have Vinny P. Vinny P. I think he was like top of the lineup, like a number 1, number 2, just because his on base percentage was so high. Yeah. He had a setback last year, but I think the goal here in Kansas City is to build around Bobby on the offensive side of things. So getting a guy like Renfroe, you say you want to walk Bobby Witt, that damn near might as well be a double because Bobby can run, and then Renfroe can pop you one out. They have a couple of power bats, but they got a lot of high contact, and they got a lot of speed too. They got a lot of speed. I don't know if you watched some of their prospects that got called up last year. And that's the thing. You get a bloop single or you just flare one out in the outfield grass, you take a bag, you got a runner in scoring position, you flare another one out in the outfield, that guy on second's going to score.
Yeah.
So whenever he says banging, I don't think he means like the Minnesota Twins breaking the home run record banging. I think they're just going to be fun, fast, and a old school baseball type of team.
And remember, they signed Will Smith to be their closer, so they're winning the World Series.
Confirmed, baby. Confirmed.
All right, you guys, I think that's all we have for today. We had a good time tonight, and thank you guys for stopping in. As always, you can catch us on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, or you can catch us on Twitch. We stream throughout the week. Until next time, folks, see you later.
See ya, guys. I appreciate all of you over here on